Right. Now, this is what we're doing. Reading this one. Still on introduction. Right. Now, it says, the supreme principle, as we have seen, is indifferently referred to as Brahman, originally sacred word or sacred power, Atman, self, or Purusha, male person. The words Atman and Purusha, however, are also used to mean the individual, indi or dual self, dual, two people. And this leads to considerable confusion, since we can rarely be sure whether any particular passage envisages a plurality of selves or only one. Nor can we be sure whether, when, for example, the Mandaka Upanishad speaks of Brahman, Atman, and Purusha, it makes a distinction between them or not. In that Upanishad, page 191, and self, Atman, can be one only by himself who can be one only by him whom he, capital letters, elects. And the self, so elected, then enters the Brahman home and draws near to the divine person who is beyond the beyond. Here it seems that the person, that is, the personal God, is elevated above Brahman so as far as Brahman means, as it does in those passages which speak of becoming Brahman. Brahman is Brahman, an eternal mode of existence, which is at the same time God's mode of existence. Now, on about that, it says, you are of God, you are in God, and God is also outside of you. Something like that. I can't remember now. I did say it's really good the other day, but it don't matter. I've got to find out one means. It's a new word. Mandukya Upanishad. So that's the latest one. The last one. The last Upanishad ever written is a Mandukya. Mandukya. The man in this condition, the Chandogya Upanishad says, has no present knowledge of self, so that he could say, this I am, nor for that matter of these creatures. Surely he might as well be a man annihilated. I see nothing enjoyable in this. Page 130. So one of the latest Upanishads, the Mandukya, but the A got a dash above it, and the U got a dash above it. So it's Moon Dark. Yeah. I think you mean they swap around the letters. Says there must be a fourth state beyond the waking, dreaming, and dreamless states in which the absolute oneness of Brahman, Atman, is consciously realized. Conscious of neither within nor without, nor of both together, not a mass of wisdom, neither wise nor unwise, unseen, one with whom there is no commerce, impalpable, impalpable, no heartbeat, devoid of distinguishing mark, unthinkable, indescribable. Its essence, the firm conviction of the oneness of itself, bringing all development to an end, tranquil and mild, devoid of duality. Such do they deem this force to be. This is the self. That is what should be known. Page 201. Right. This tendency to elevate the personal God above the usually impersonal Brahman becomes even more marked in the Katha Upanishad. In the Savatara, the process has gone further still. The ancient Rigveda god Rudra Ziva now emerges as the supreme ruler of the universe, ruler of both the imperishable and the perishable modes of being. Page 204. The imperishable is Brahman, the perishable the whole phenomenal world. Basically, everything breaks down to dust and then comes back, be reused as food, and we all grow again. Maybe. Don't know. Imperishable is the Brahman, the perishable the whole phenomenal world. But it's spelt not phenomenal, it's spelt fen, which means smell, o, menal. Now, fen is a smell, o, don't know, and menal is menstrual cycle of a woman in medical records. So there's the smell. The imperishable is Brahman, the perishable the whole phenomenal world. So when you say the word phenomenal, you're saying smell and menstrual cycle. Just so I understand in your sentence. In these later verses, but not in the it is in the context of this sentence actually, in any sentence you use it in. The imperishable is Brahman, the invisible source, person, God, spirit, deity, whatever you want to call it. The perishable, the whole phenomenal, world, phenomenal. In these later verses, Upanishad, a new conception of the cosmos makes itself felt, that of the philosophical, or rather psychological, mental health issues. CD is philosophic. But the philosophic, or rather psychological, psychoanalyze you in mental health scene wards and in the place where you work. That the philosophic, or rather psychological school called Smakhaya Yoga, but it's written Samkhaya Yoga. According to the school of thought, existence is neatly divided up between two separate and totally distinct modes of being. On the one hand, you have a plurality of Purushas, persons, spirits or souls, the essence of which is timeless being. Now, the essence of which is timeless being, that means singular, but there's plural. On the other hand, you have Prakriti, or nature, from which the whole phenomenal world derives. Originally, nature is in a state of pure equilibrium and rest, R-E-S-T. It is as yet unmanifest. Yet even in this unmanifest state, nature is made up of three constituents. Constituent is a voting person called goodness, sattva, passion or energy, rajas, and darkness, tamas. When nature begins to evolve, the Purushas, for no apparent reason, become involved in nature. In other words, they become incarnate in men and other living not beings, other living creatures. This is regarded as a terrible misfortune. They are ensnared in space and time and the world of action, karma or karman. I've seen that before. Karman was an N on the end. Lost it now. It's on another video. Each Purusha now indwells a psychophysical organism. Psychophysical organism is a thinking person or thinking animal or thinking beetle. Each Purusha now indwells with person. Each Purusha now indwells a psycho-thinking physical organism which develops out of unmanifest nature. This organism, in turn, is equipped with faculties, soul, or is taking the first breath and is living. Buddhai, see below, page XXI. I haven't got to that one yet. Ego, mind, 5 organs of sense, and 5 organs of action. So there's 5 organs of action, I suppose would be your 5 emotional responses. 5 organs of sense is see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, I think. See, smell, hear, taste, and touch. Yes, 5. And the 5 emotions is the ones of action. Through all of these, the 3 constituents, don't forget, that's a voter of nature act. That is to say, they involve the Purushas in an endless cycle of works, karma, which, as we have seen, binds the Purusha, P-U-R-U-S-H-A, Purusha, or in the terminology more usually to the Upanishad, the self or Atman, to this world of never-ending coming to be and passing away. So, in other words, each person, animal, creature, everything that's living has a Purusha, and the never-ending passing away and returning is the Purushana, but is the Purusha's oneness. Of persons, spirits, or souls. The essence of what is a singular, timeless being. One individual one, Purushas, and multiple lives, multiple deaths, multiple futures, multiple existences. Over and 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 over. I suppose that would mean that one. Very, really pissed off they want to go back home, huh? These Purush us. Now, in a book I was reading before, he said God made them first. Then God made human beings, animals, creatures, plants, everything else afterwards. We share their room. They don't share it with us. We share the room as a second being made with them. Now, is this talking about Parushas? Don't forget, Vikas called people parishioners and Parushas and parishioners. Sound very, very similar. So is the vicar of his parishioners talking to these beings that never die, like the human body dies. And constituents of nature act, voters, is also congregation of nature act. They voters too. Funny play on words, huh? Anyway, most of this is taken over in the later Upanishads, very much more markedly in the Bhagavad Gita. But whereas in the Samkhya system proper, there is no God and no Brahman, this is emphatically not so in the later Upanishads and the Gita. The Svetasvatara Upanishad accepts unreservedly the two orders of existence, you and your Purushas or parishioner, the human being and the parishioner. Or the priest and the congregation. That's why we need a priest. I guess. So. But they gotta listen to God, whoever the God is. They're not the one in charge. According to other readings in different books. You know a woman, right? She had a car accident and she wanted to move the car to get the baby. In a split second, she lifted that car away from her child and went and got the child. That superhuman being must be her Purushas influence. She'd never be able to lift that car otherwise. That's what it could be. And that's what they're trying to stop. Maybe. By having a vicar and a priest talking to them and not talking to us human beings in prayers. Maybe. Anyway, only theory. I don't know anything about this. I never read it before. Anyway, we carry on. Most of this is taken over by in the later Upanishads and very much more markedly in the Bhagavad Gita. But whereas in the Samkhya system proper, there is no God and no Brahman. This is emphatically not so in the later Upanishads and the Gita. The Svetasvatara Upanishads accepts unreservedly the two orders of existence, you and them. That of becoming, that of pure being. Now, you as a human being are the one becoming, and the pure being is when you're not becoming, but you actually are the Purushas. I think that's what it means. And they will never allow that. The Catholics won't anyway. says in the books. No matter where in the world you are, they'll stop it. The Svetasvatara Upanishad accepts unreservedly the two orders of existence, that of becoming, which is a human being, striving to achieve Brahman, and that of pure being when you become your Purushas, I think. But places the Supreme God above both. Well, yeah, God asked the earth, to create life. Because God himself is not on the planet, or rock, or turtleback, or whatever you want to call it, where we live. He's not physically here. Otherwise, where would they say he's outside the expansion of the firmament, which is where the sun, moon, and stars live? If he lives out there, how can he be on the planet at the same time? Well, they all saying all knowing is his. Oh yeah, and by the way, your Purushas is also your gods. And in Catholicism it says they're guardian angels. No, they're gods. So when you're naughty, they tell you off. And when you're happy as fuck, they tell you off. So, the Svetasvatara Upanishad accepts unreservedly the two orders of existence, that of becoming and that of pure being, but places the Supreme God above both. Brahman is still the pantheistic indwelling God, which is pure being on the one hand and the source of all becoming on the other. But God, in this case, Rutsriva, Ziva, because it's got a comma above the S, which makes it a Z. Rudra Ziva transcends and controls both orders of existence. Here self, Brahman and God are distinguished by realizing self as being eternal and isolated, as in the Sankaya system, the embodied soul. Knows Brahman, since Brahman as eternal being is the ambience in which the self moves, and by knowing Brahman in its essence, he comes to know God, who is beyond all essences. Earth, air, fire, water. That's the essences. And by knowing, I think, anyway, and by knowing him thus, he is set free from all the fetters of mortal life. Nothing to worry about anything. Things will turn up. That's not worrying about the fetters of mortal life. You're going to die from your first breath. You're born, you take one breath, that's it, it's called living. Or soul. And from your first breath, you're going to fucking die. So get over it and enjoy what you exist in from that moment onwards. Brahman in its essence. He comes to know God, who is beyond all essences. There's now. Brahman in its essence. I thought essence was earth, air, fire, water. That's what I thought essences was. Oh, and breath. That comes under air. So I don't know what the other one is. Because air, the first breath, is your soul. So it says in Genesis. It's called living, or soul, or breath. They all three mean the same thing. Because when you breathe in, you breathe somebody else's already breathed air. When you breathe out, you're breathing out yours. The next person to breathe it in. It's all one big fat amoeba. Brahman, in its essence, he comes to know God, who is beyond all essences. And by knowing him thus, he is set free from all the fetters of mortal life. Right. Even as a mirror with dirt begrimed shines brightly once it is well cleaned, so too the embodied soul, once it has been self as it really is. No. Start again. Even as a mirror with dirt begrimed shines brightly once it is well cleaned, so too the embodied soul, once it has been seen, self as it really is, becomes one, its goal achieved, from sorrow free. When by means of self as it really is, as with a lamp, an integrated man sees Brahman as it really is, then he will know the unborn, undying God, the pure, beyond all essences as they really are, and knowing him from all fetters, he'll be freed. Page 207. Now when you get baptized, they make you light a candle with wet hands and matches. You gotta light your own candle after you've been baptized. They hold you under the water until you can't breathe. It's called a religious ceremony. So you can't breathe at all. And when you're just about to pass out, they bring you back out and give you a new breath. That's being baptized. Same as when they put the fluid on the forehead of the baby, newborn, and it comes down. 1 teaspoon of water can drown a person. Put it there, it comes down the nose, into the mouth, drowns the baby. And then the baby has a new breath again. I was horrified when I seen that first time on telly. Horrified. Couldn't believe it. So they steal the baby's breath at christening. When you're older and you'll get baptized, they steal your breath. Steal your breath then as well. So you never have your one you was born with. They also do it at the naming ceremony of the whole part of the bar mitzvah. Because you gotta say this massive long poem. It's really hard to say, and you gotta memorize it. And they do lose their breath when they pronouncing it out. And they know it does happen. But there's many other ones that does the same thing. They drowned us like cats in christenings and in baptism. And re-christenings as well. They do the same thing. It's not just a bit of oil on your forehead. And they've done that. They've done that to human beings for over 2,000 years. Over 2,000 years. And that's how they control your Purushas. So they run hands down. They always have. Because they know what they're doing, and the innocent human beings don't. They get shipped to the slaughter. Over and over again. And there's no getting over it. And there's no getting it back from when you've been baptized or christened. No way of getting it back ever. What's been stolen off you. But that's okay. Nobody knows what happens when you're dead. And nobody knows what happens when you're alive. So it don't fucking matter, does it?